The lack of nutrition education about carbs and proteins and sugars makes it almost impossible for anyone under the age of 18 to have any clue what a healthy eating habit looks like. People like me who deal with pressure, anxiety, and mental illness by overeating creates a 1 out of 3 American statistic for obesity. There are women who eat and then void, which causes intestinal and throat irritation, sometimes irrevocably changing their body by losing teeth and scarring their body due to voiding. There are people who barely eat because they don't feel like they measure up, and the world would be better without them in it. If you haven't seen the TV show Heartstopper, season 3 focuses on Charlie Spring's lifelong eating disorder, where he doesn't eat and he hides it from everyone who he knows, friends, family, and even his partner, that he has an eating disorder where he does not eat even 1 meal a day. It's a great representation of how a large group of people, regardless of gender, race, and orientation, how they react to anxiety. And I think we need to see on television more people struggle with body dysphoria. And it's not just a female problem. It's a male problem too. I mean, men take steroids and illegal drugs to cheat the expectation, where they don't have to work hard like the rest of us to not even achieve the toxic standard of body shape. Give it 20 years. What is perfect now will be imperfect then. And church shames women for being a woman. They discriminate against a woman without even knowing who she is. They won't allow her in positions of senior authority. They won't let her teach men. She's lucky to get to vote in a church event at all. And we say you should be grateful you get to vote. And my response is, why should I be grateful that you're in charge, you horrible human being? And the whole purity culture sets women up for failure. You have to be a virgin or else you're worthless. And not only do they tell you you're worthless, they tell you how worthless you are. They do the tape, or ripping off flower petals, or spitting in a jar. They tell you exactly how gross you are for having sex consensually. Do they condemn unconsensual sex the way they condemn consensual? No, they add them on the same list. They lump sexual assault with consensual teenage exploration. This is how effed up fundamentalist Christianity is. Women basically die from the inside out based on our culture's toxic, killing expectation of what women are. And if you don't measure up, if you don't make men feel like men enough, they'll go somewhere else. And see, but men never make women feel like women to the extent men require women to make them feel like a man. And if you need a woman to make you feel like a man, you're not a man. You're a toddler. And if a woman needs a man to make her feel like a woman, you're not emotionally mature. And in this country, we have so little internal depth and internal validation. We go and seek it in dangerous, unhealthy places. A lot of women get messed up in toxic, unhealthy relationships to make up for their toxic relationship, or the lack thereof, from their own fathers, their own brothers. I mean, you double a woman's unsafe sexual existence just not having a good parental father or brother figure in her life. Now, enjoying sex, or I don't even like the word promiscuous because that's very sexist. If a woman is comfortable in her own skin, if she's happy and independent and pursues sex the same way men do, but being a woman, men will try to tear her down. They'll try to humiliate her. They'll do everything they can to make her what the other women haven't yet become. Just comfortable. Because men don't want women to be happy and content. They want them to be obsessed about how to make men comfortable. And the stress, the downright hostility and hate men heap on women and women heap on women for not being Barbie perfect. Because the system is rigged. And even if a perfect woman existed, which they don't, but if they did, they would still criticize you for being too perfect. You can't win. And a lot of women have developed addictions for plastic surgery, skin treatment, massage, waxing. They basically mutilate themselves or create addictions to pander to toxic expectations. And there is nothing wrong with getting waxed, massaged, having skin treatments and plastic surgery. By all means, there's nothing wrong. It can turn into an addiction, especially when a man or a woman involved has little to no healthy self-esteem. There are women that are told if you get one more nose job, your nose will collapse. Women can't accept themselves in their imperfections. Because if everyone was perfect, no one would have an individuality. They'd all be perfect. And when I see perfection, I start thinking of that movie, The Stepford Wives, where they've replaced the women with robots. Relationships where everyone was perfect and had no imperfections, vulnerability and intimacy wouldn't exist because there would be nothing to get to know. They're perfect. Relationships wouldn't last a year if everyone was perfect. There would be no mystery. There would be no genuine connection because everyone would be perfect. The difference between imperfection and vice is the person. And I think women will always struggle more profusely with body shaming, body image issues, because women are the scapegoat for everything. And women really are. That's why trans people are the most hated group in America. Because they're women. And they're not stereotypical women. They're the worst kind of being a woman. They're faking it. And that's not my opinion. But that's how toxic men see it. Because there are groups in America that still believe that trans women don't exist because you are what you're born. I think I'm quoting J.K. Rowling. And as long as they see a trans woman, they see her as a male traitor, a gender traitor. If you've seen The Handmaid's Tale. If you're a man, you better stay a man. You better be the most toxic alpha man there is. If you switch and become a woman, which in those toxic men's minds is worse than a man being dead, you are ripe for moral persecution. Because there's no type of woman worse in a toxic man's eye than a man who became a woman. Because now they're not a stereotypical woman. They're something different. Not bad, just different. But they don't see it as something good. They see it as a threat. Because if you're not a stereotypical perfect woman, we call them trad wives now, you're a threat. You're not easy to control. You're not easy to dominate. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be dominated. Just not the way conservative people do it. That is weird. And it's not consensual. If you grew up in an environment that taught you that women are always less than, and you say yes and you submit, that's not consent. That's obedience. There's a difference. Consent can only happen if you know what you're doing and you know that there's other options, but you still choose to do this. That is consent. These people don't know anything else, so they do it anyway. That's not consent. That's a behavior done by fear. And I suffer from body dysphoria due to being overweight and having an eating disorder. I'm not a stereotypical female. I've always been more of a tomboy, and I don't like that term because it's sexist. I've never fit the female expectation, the toxic femininity. Because the perfect female is something men can control, dominate, humiliate, and everything else. A woman who can't be controlled, dominated, humiliated, and forced to be less than isn't a perfect woman. A perfect woman is someone you see on a magazine who is hot and dynamic, but when they come home, they're nothing but secondary. Which is why the conservative leaders in our country want Taylor Swift to submit to her fiancé after marriage. They don't care that she is the successful role model for women. They see her as nothing more than a wife or a potential wife. They don't see her as being equal. They see her as a submissive secondary person who's less than human. And I don't know how much her fiancé makes, but it's not $1 billion. She makes the money. And I don't know anything about their power dynamics or the dynamics of their relationship. That's not my business. But she's the one who makes the most money. She's the one who is the primary earner in that relationship. If you think that a woman who makes billions is just going to become a trad wife, you probably don't know Taylor Swift. She is the last person I would expect to be a trad wife. Her and Madonna, it's like, yeah, that's never going to happen. But that's how conservative men want her to be. They want her to stop being a feminine role model, a dynamic feminist, and be a trad wife who doesn't make waves, doesn't read the newspaper because I had to give her ideas. They want her to be a mother/wife. They want her to be someone that serves her husband and wants nothing in return. Because let's be honest, when you're a trad wife, you don't get equal back. That's why it's being a trad wife. Because if the man gives as much as the woman gives, that's a partnership. That's not a traditional marriage. Traditional marriage is polygamy, but if you look at it at a modern viewpoint, if men and women give equal behavior, equal work in a relationship, it's a partnership. It's not marriage. Marriage is not equal. Marriage has never been equal between sexes, and I don't think it ever will be. But women suffer the most with body shaming because purity culture does a superb job at making women feel like crap for having consensual, informed consent, and when there isn't consent involved. Because women are treated the same way, whether they're a survivor or a happy girlfriend. Church always suppresses, shames, and annihilates women who are sexually satisfied and happy. Because consent is more important than how and when the sex happened, provided you're all 18. If the woman enthusiastically consents, I don't care if they're married. Don't care. And the way they set women up in these high control religions to just be the trophy of someone else is dehumanizing. The world would be a very boring place if everyone was 120 pounds, okay? If everyone was straight up and down with no muscle, no curve, nothing, the world would be a boring place. Everyone has their own body shape, body size, height, width, and that's based on gender, age, nationality, nutritional lifestyle. So many different ways impacts how you look. Some people like to be skinny. A lot of skinny people, it's their metabolism and their genes. It's not because they go out and run 50 miles a day. Some people just get lucky. Some people hate being skinny. They want more muscle on their body, but for some reason, it's really hard to impossible to get muscle and extra curves due to genetics. Some men have more weight on them, and it's hard for them to lose it for many reasons. And there's nothing wrong with being plus sized. As long as you eat healthy, you exercise, and you feel good, that's the important part. Now, if you're overweight due to eating improperly, not exercising, not hydrating, and taking care of yourself, that you're setting yourself up for medical health and early death. But I'm not going to body shame people. I do encourage people to get out and exercise, though. I mean, steer the conversation as far away from weight as possible. Unless you're somebody's doctor, don't mention it. It won't go well. Especially if you're talking to a woman. That's how you get hit, or you sleep on the couch. If a woman says, "How do I look?" the answer is always great. Or, let's find something that makes you look better. That's fine. You don't have to lie to people, but you never tear down or embarrass a woman about their weight. That's not good. And what's really sad is women are most likely to shame another woman because of the patriarchy. What men can't get women to do and feel bad about, women will step up and do it the best way possible, even though it's terrible. Women shame each other. The majority of times, the S word is put on someone's car for being what they consider promiscuous. It's done by a woman. Women are experts in shaming other women for approaching sex, body image, and life as independent, strategic, autonomous as a man does. Women shame women more than men shame women. I mean, I haven't heard such vicious behavior except coming from a woman. I mean, the most vicious place to be in a church is in the kitchen. The way women talk about each other is dehumanizing. No wonder women don't like each other. Women do very little to hold up other women. Encouragement and boasting about other women's good fortune is rare to never in these churches. These women have to tear each other down, so men don't have to do it. Like, why do men have to tear down women when women are so good at it? I mean, gossip. I don't know who gossips more, but historically, women are more likely to gossip, even though I think men do it more. Nobody tears down a woman better than another woman. I mean, slut shaming was probably created by women. And our society turns women against